You've seen online designers making serious money with Framer, but how do they do it? Today, we're gonna do something a little bit different, and we're actually gonna break down my exact blueprint to make over $10,000 a month with Framer. And I'm gonna show you how you can do it too. Let's go. Okay, so let's actually jump into a bit of an online whiteboard here so we can break this down. So the first thing, which is kind of everything, is Framer, right? Now, I think the really powerful thing about Framer as a way to make money is, firstly, you need to kind of shift your mindset and realize it's not just a website builder. It's actually a bit of like an operating system, right? It's a bit of a canvas. And then we can kind of add to that canvas with other things. So if Frame is kind of at the center of everything, we need to look at actually how can we make money with Framer. Now, I want to cover 4 key things today that I think are really important. So the first one, let's actually call this products. We're also going to look at services, and we'll look at distribution, and we'll also cover some programs. Now, by far, the most common ways to make money with Framer are in services and products, but understanding the programs that you have available to you and how you actually distribute that so you can find that work and make money is actually really important. So let's start with services, because it's probably the one you're going to know most about. And when we refer to services, we're essentially talking about how do we get paid to do Framer projects. So probably the most common sort of ways that this might actually occur, number one is like client sites. So this is where you're actually building a site for a client. They come to you. You might do both design and development. So let's actually break that out here as well. So you might get to do the design. Maybe you're actually doing that in Figma, and then you're kind of bringing that across and building it out in Framer. Or maybe a client already has a design and they want your help to actually build it out in Framer. Now, these sort of projects here can completely vary depending on the type of project and the type of budget. Personally, I've charged anywhere from $1,000 up to $50,000 for a website. So this range can be quite specific, but even just one project alone for like a full sort of like marketing website, you could easily be looking at a 10K project there. So if you could make just one of them a month, you're already sort of like reaching that 10K blueprint. Even if you're doing, say, 5K for just the development, then, you know, that could be a pretty good sort of like stable revenue source if you can find the right sort of customers that need those sort of sites. So services and client sites is number one. Number two for services here, I'm going to put down odd jobs. So this is the sort of things that come up on like the Framer community and just random bits and bobs here and there that you as someone who knows Framer can actually help with. So that might be someone has an existing site. They want something very specific, like they're stuck on a problem and they need a little bit extra support to actually solve that problem. Or even like there's some sites that I've seen where people are paying Framer experts to come on board and just help clean up their site, clean up their project a little bit, make it responsive, those sort of things. And we can kind of refer to them as odd jobs. Now, the range for these sort of projects can completely vary as well. Again, these are like $50 things to probably $500 things. There are jobs, they're not massive sort of projects. They're just quick sort of like fixer-uppers where someone needs that extra bit of hand-holding to get their project over the line. And then lastly, for services here, we're actually going to include custom solutions. Now, this is kind of where you can kind of add additional functionality that Framer doesn't offer out of the box that somebody really needs. So maybe they've already got their existing client site, but maybe they want a bit more of an e-commerce solution or custom forms or a custom code component or something like that they can't just necessarily do themselves, and they need to kind of bring an expert in to kind of help them do that. And again, the big two that I've kind of seen, especially have come through my sort of channels, has been 1, code components, and then 2, custom third-party integrations. So once I actually helped a client, actual enterprise client of Framer, integrate their greenhouse job listings. So that was basically just like pulling in that data from another source and trying to display that in Framer. Now, they already had like a team of people inside of their Framer project that could actually build their site. But that next level of actually creating that integration, they just needed a little bit more expert support. That's kind of where I can kind of come in and kind of give them something a little bit more bespoke. Now, again, in terms of like pricing for this, can completely vary depending on the scope. But you can imagine just like a real simple sort of like custom solution, building a code component for a very specific thing, could be around $1,000. And again, this can vary. It can go up to $10,000 for a really customized, tailored integration. But I think it's important to understand that there's a difference between just doing client websites and just building the site in Framer, and these other sort of other opportunities that come up that are actually part of that service flywheel that you can offer as an actual Framer expert. So let's actually connect these together. Okay, cool. So next is products, right? And I think there's two key ways you can make money by creating products for Framer. So first is actually listing things on the marketplace. Now, this is templates, plugins, and components. So let's write these down here. So first, templates, right? Which is, again, the most common way that people are actually building products for Framer is they're actually creating website templates that clients or customers will then buy. Now, the really great thing about the Framer marketplace and what they're doing really well over there is, one, it's a great channel for discoverability. Like, you don't need to put a ton of energy into external marketing. Framer's kind of giving you that traffic already, which is really, really great. And then number two is you actually keep 100% of that revenue. Framer don't take a cent, which is super awesome for creators. And I really hope it stays that way, because it means that creators, you can sell a template for anywhere from like $30 up to say $150, and you're keeping 100% of that revenue, which is super awesome. Now, next inside the Framer marketplace, you have plugins, and this is people who are building third-party sort of add-ons that kind of live within Framer. I'm sure you've used a ton of plugins already, but for example, we've got like 7 plugins on the marketplace at the moment, everything from a custom form solution to building e-commerce stores in Framer. And the pricing on this can vary completely. Some people just create free plugins, and that's a bit of a lead magnet to something else. But then there's other people who might sell a plugin for say $99 and it's like a lifetime access. Some people are doing subscription based. You might pay $10 a month for that particular access to a plugin. So pretty quickly you can sort of kind of create a unique solution and solve a specific problem in Framer with plugins. And then again, you've got this sort of marketplace as the sort of marketing material for you. Then when people are looking for a specific solution, they're going on, they're searching a plugin, and it's all accessible within Framer. And then hopefully your plugin can be the one that's found. And then lastly, inside a marketplace, which is a pretty new release, is the ability to sell components. Now, why I like this one in particular is because you don't actually need to be a developer and someone who knows how to write code to actually create these custom code components anymore. With the release of Framer's Workshop plugin, which is essentially vibe coding in Framer, you can actually create these bespoke components and then actually go sell them on the Framer marketplace, which means you can build the component with AI and then make money from it. Now, I'll be honest, the ones that probably have the best chance of survival and actually making the most amount of money are the things that aren't as easy to build with the Workshop plugin. But again, everything's around discoverability. Like if you're one of the first people to build, say, a specific component for something that's in high demand, then chances are people are going to build or pay for that component. Now, yes, they can also build it themselves with the Workshop plugin, but the really key thing to note here, and alongside the entire marketplace, why people pay for templates, plugins, and components is to save time. Number one, by far, they either don't know how to do it themselves or they don't have the time to do it themselves. So I think if you can understand that, then you're actually going to be in a good position to create some money with some components. Now, again, the price for these can vary completely from free components to $5 components up to say $30 components. Definitely not as high value as say templates or plugins, but they're still just a nice little thing. And again, the sort of barrier to entry there is actually quite low. And since it's a new sort of platform within the marketplace, there's actually a lot of untapped opportunity to make money just by creating some Framer components. So that's the marketplace. Now, the second thing I want to add here in terms of products is what we'll call third-party add-ons. So these are sort of things that you can do that sit in the realm of Framer, but aren't necessarily connected to the Framer platform itself. So for example, you might create a course. Now I have a course called the Ultimate Framer Masterclass, and that sells for $299. And we built a full entire school platform. It's got over 100 lessons. I'll include the link down below if you are interested. But essentially that's a product that we sell that's related to Framer, but it's not necessarily a part of the Framer marketplace. It's not a specific product that kind of exists on Framer. We do have a plugin for it so you can view the content, but it kind of sits a little bit more externally. Now, another thing you might do is say downloads. You might create an ebook, you might create a free resource, a cheat sheet. There might be just content that you create that you're kind of giving away that's related to Framer. And essentially this is the sort of like big thing with third-party add-ons is you might do paid content, you might have a bit of a Patreon where you're running monthly workshops or monthly live streams or things like that. Again, it's not a product that's specific for the Framer platform, but it's relatable to Framer themselves. So again, under products, you kind of have marketplace and you have third-party add-ons. So by far, these are the two most common ways you make money with Framer: services, selling client sites, and then building products specifically on the marketplace or creating some sort of third-party add-on bonus. Now, let's actually talk about some programs here, because there's a few things that Framer and others offer that are really beneficial to this entire flywheel that we're starting to create. So let's actually first talk about the Contra Experts program. So if you're not familiar with Contra, essentially it's this really fantastic place for anyone to kind of like find work as a Framer expert. And they actually have a Framer Experts program where essentially you have all these sort of vetted people who know how to use Framer. And let me tell you, there is a ton of people making really good money through the Contra platform. So I highly recommend you check it out. And then secondly, you also have Framer's own expert program, which funnily was on Contra beforehand, and now it kind of also has its own space online as well. So actually being involved in both of these is really, really important, especially because we're still very early on Framer. Now, I go to events and I ask people, hey, have you heard of Framer? Most people have heard of Framer. Maybe they're not necessarily using Framer yet, but they've definitely understood what it is as a platform. Now, because of this, there's actually a ton of untapped opportunity. And there's so many different clients and people in marketing who want to move their site to Framer, but there's actually not enough talent out there to support that. And you go on these sort of programs on Contra and the Framer Expert site, and you'll notice like it looks like there's a lot of people, but there's actually not, especially if you're looking at a bit more of a local level, whether you're in the US or Australia or New Zealand or wherever you are. If you can become your sort of like local expert for Framer, right now there's still a massive untapped opportunity because enough people are not using Framer, especially in comparison to other platforms out there like Webflow. So these are just two sort of like options in terms of programs. Again, I'll include links to both of these down below so you can actually sign up. They're both free and they both have an extra sort of benefits to actually being a part of these programs. One, being discovered, but two, just other perks in terms of essentially verification that you are an expert. These sort of programs really do help with that. Now, the other program which I want to talk about is the Framer Creator Program, which is essentially Framer's solution to affiliate marketing. Now, how this creator program works is essentially you can create a remix link in Framer, which gives someone a link to your project, and you include a little tag at the end, which includes like your name or a unique ID. And then what might happen is someone might remix that project, and then they decide that they want to use that project, and they'll create a paid plan with Framer. Now, what Framer do, which is extremely generous, is they give you 50% of that plan commission for the first 12 months, which means that let's say somebody spends $50 a month on Framer, you're going to get $25 of that for the first 12 months, which is just insane. If you go on Twitter, please just Google Framer Creator on Twitter, and you'll see the amount of people who are making some serious cash with Framer. Now, I'm talking upwards from not just $500 a month, but also like $5,000 a month just in referrals. And this is consistent because they've just got an on-stream of traffic of customers who are now signing up for Framer. I think as of recording, the last month, I think, which is July 2025, Framer processed over $500,000 just in that month alone in creator payouts, which is just insane. So I highly recommend you join this creator program. And the reason you should join it and where this wheel starts to get connected is because when you actually build a site in Framer for a client, you give them the remix link or you hand the project over using your creator code, and then you're getting instant revenue back on that customer. So now you've already secured the project, so they're guaranteed to go with you, and you know they've got to upgrade to a Framer plan, but you can also get an additional 50% of that revenue for that plan for the first 12 months. Same with templates. If you have a paid template and someone buys a template, there's a very high chance they're also going to get a plan with Framer. So this is why templates are super great, because you can create that template, sell it, and then when someone buys it, you're also going to get additional revenue, which is quite passive in terms of income to actually make additional money. And that's all thanks to this creator program that we have right here. Okay, so that's programs. Again, I'll leave all those links down below. Now, last is around distribution. So how do you actually market yourself, and how do you actually kind of give yourself the opportunity to sell your services and to sell your products? So there's a couple of things here that I want to mention. First is Framer.community. Now, this is Framer's kind of dedicated community platform. It's really, really good. And there's people on there who are like constantly listing about like odd jobs and things like that you can do. But just in terms of like getting yourself out there, creating a little bit of traction, Framer.community is a really great place that you need to be active in. Now, second is Twitter or X. Now, by far the biggest social platform for Framer and the community is on X. Just naturally is. It's a pretty great platform for that. So if you do really want to get involved in the community, start finding clients, there's a lot of like tech startups and founders and things like that on Twitter as well, especially in that sort of space. So there is actually really good opportunity to find clients or sell products that are related to Framer on X and Twitter. So I highly recommend it there. Now, next is actually around the marketplace, but specifically making use of that marketplace by actually making the content or products that you're creating searchable. So we're going to call it searchable marketplace content. So for example, if you're creating a website for a tech startup, in the title of that template that you're creating, write tech startup marketing site, or whatever those sort of keywords you want to use. Because when someone actually goes on the marketplace, there are thousands of templates that they can now choose from. So you really want to stand out by being the one who speaks exactly to them. So if you can kind of target these searchable keywords, then that's actually going to do a lot in terms of getting you traction. Again, if someone goes on Google, maybe they're not even looking in the marketplace because they don't know it exists, but they might go tech startup landing page for Framer. If you're targeting that keyword, tech startup and Framer, then that's actually going to pair really nicely together, and you've got a better chance of being found and actually selling that product. Which really leads me into my last point here around distribution of SEO. You have to have good SEO. So essentially, we have services, we have products, and then you can kind of use the programs that Framer and Contra provide to make additional revenue. And then when you power that with the partnership of distribution, you're actually becoming really quite strong. So essentially, when you have a service, you can utilize programs. And when you sell a product, you can utilize programs. And when you create distribution, you're actually creating product sales, and you're also creating services sales. So you start to get this really nice sort of like flywheel happening here, where you can distribute something, you're either selling a service or a product or both. And then once you've got them intact, you can also utilize these programs to create additional revenue. Now, do you have to do all of this? Absolutely not. I recommend you kind of pick one or the other, or pick one very specific thing to focus on, whether it be client sites, custom solutions, templates, plugins, components, courses, whatever it is. But you can start to see the untapped opportunity that exists, all because of this Framer platform. Now, again, like I mentioned at the start, Framer isn't just a website builder. It really is a canvas. And when you start to see it like this, you actually start to open up different ways that you can make money with Framer. And that's my blueprint to making over $10,000 a month as a Framer designer. Now, if you want this actual document that I've just created in this video, I'll leave a link down below so you can actually check that out for yourself. But if you want more Framer content, consider subscribing to the channel, because we're putting out new Framer videos every single week. And if you are interested in mastering Framer, like truly mastering it, check out my Ultimate Framer Masterclass. It's just my brand new course on mastering Framer from A to Z. But until next time, I'll catch you later.